What's going on, guys? Hope everyone had an amazing holiday weekend, and hopefully everyone finished your leftovers, because if you still got them by the time this video goes up, you probably just need to throw it out, big dog. But with that said, we're back for more Ultimate Wolverine with issues 6 and 7, and it gets pretty crazy with this one, so we're just gonna hop into it. So if you're enjoying these videos, be sure to drop a like, subscribe if you're new to the channel, and don't forget to hit that bell up top to get all notifications. Alright, so this picks up after the throwdown between Ultimate Wolverine and Ultimate Saber-Tooth, where Saber-Tooth won after getting the assist from Leech, who shut down his healing factor, in addition to Natasha hitting Logan with a trank. So hey, at the end of the day, a win is a win. But this is what led to Saber-Tooth and Natasha taking Logan back to the opposition in hopes of freeing his mind from the control of Directorate X. And when we come back, we're once again in Logan's mind, with him hearing a voice, again. Though this time it's very different, with the voice speaking directly to him, with it saying, "I wear the chains I forged in life. I made it link by link, and yard by yard. I girded it of my own free will, and of my own free will I wore it." And as this continues, we'll learn more about who this voice is as it guides him through this prison in his mind. But it goes on to say here, "Is its pattern strange to you? That's Dickens' friend, Charles Dickens. It's been in my mind these last few moments, as have you." And when this voice says this, the chains holding Logan in the cell, they just fall off easily, and I want to come back to this in just a moment. But before that, this person goes on to tell him, "Logan, your shackles are loose, but you are far from free. You still bear the chains of oppression. I know them well. I wore them all my life. They rattled inside my skull. You have these chains too, Logan. They confuse you, haunt you, control you. I know this too. We were many, we were legion, but now we are one. I am free, unburdened, as you will be. Logan, why don't you remember that name?" And it's right here where it's revealed to us that Logan's getting help from the David Haller of Earth 6160. And there's a few things to unpack from this real quick. Because for starters, when we saw those chains just easily drop off of Logan, that in itself just goes to show the progress that's been made from the start of this series, really, with Logan fighting the brainwashing and remembering Kurt's prayer, with him getting that extra push from Kitty, the dreamlike experience where he was a wolf trying to fight his way back. All of these things fractured and weakened the control that Directorate X had over him, which then led to Dr. Prostovic taking him down to the Phoenix specimen for repairs, who was the last out of 3 points of control that Dr. Prostovic was using to keep Logan compliant. And at the time, we didn't even see how this went down. All we saw was Logan get thrown back into action sometime after, when he attacked Saber-Tooth. But coming back to the here and now, as a result of everything we've seen since issue 1, Logan has been coming closer and closer to getting his mind back. And that's what Haller's talking about here. And in Haller's case, we'll learn more about him as this continues. But with him telling Logan, "We were many, we were legion, but now we are one," this lets us know at some point for him, much like the Legion of Earth 616, at some point he had thousands of personalities, of whom we've only got to meet a handful of, and others not so much. And I mean, fingers crossed, at some point we'll explore more of this David's abilities, much like we have for the Legion of the main Marvel Universe, in addition to his multiple identities. Because really, that's one of the sickest things about Legion, that concept of him having multiple identities, each with different powers. Like the time when he mentioned that he has 200 Omega level split personalities in his brain. Like, it's ridiculous. And so for this version, there's a really interesting story that we'll get back to in a moment. But in the here and now, he's just telling Logan that he's been through a version of this. So Haller's gonna guide him through to the other side. And actually, I think it would make more sense if we talk about more of his backstory now, because there's even more twists and turns that we're gonna get into. But throughout the story, we learn more about this version of Legion through some notes written by Hank McCoy, where he says here that David Haller's body was destroyed in a landslide, which also killed his mother and 300 other people, with it mentioning that his father is unknown. But later on, when the opposition was trying to hack into the Eurasian Republic's defense systems, which is something that Hank says they would do regularly, only for the Republic's systems to kick them out shortly after. But in that brief window, the opposition would gather valuable information that they would later use to develop new tactics. But one day when Beast was going through this information, he found a secret code that at first he thought was spyware or some form of malware, but out of curiosity he dug into it and found out that it contained multitudes. And not long after that, he discovered that it was a living consciousness that escaped into the Eurasian Republic's computer systems. So Beast extracted that code and placed it on a local contained server, which is when he discovered that this code was David Haller, who also suffered from a personality disorder, where in addition David will refer to himself as Legion, as in the biblical sense of we are many, we are legion. And Beast knew right away that Haller was powerful, just given the fact that he survived the destruction of his physical body. So what Beast ended up doing was using AI tools that he had stolen from the Eurasian Republic to streamline David's code and plug the holes to where later on he inserted David into the opposition's mainframe. And at this point, Beast had figured it was worth the risk, because what could go wrong, right? But Beast figured it was worth the risk because David had no love for the Eurasian Republic. And in a way, it was an opportunity for them to help each other, with David helping the opposition and no longer being confined within the Republic's computer systems. And after David's consolidation, he went from calling himself Legion to just calling himself One. And he would go on to help Beast and the opposition to the point where Beast would just plug people into David's system, and he would help them get through PTSD or mind control by quote-unquote deleting the bad code. And even though Mikhail Rasputin, who's a person we'll talk more about in a moment, he was a bit hesitant about David, Beast believes had they not recruited David Haller, the opposition would have been destroyed long ago. And as this continues, we'll talk more about Mikhail Rasputin, as well as some other things that are going on in the opposition. But in the here and now, Haller, or One, goes on to say here, Logan, why don't you remember that name? You are not a Winter Soldier, yet you answer its call. You are not a specimen or a weapon, yet you allow yourself to be treated and wielded as one. You, my friend, are a prisoner. And when he says this, Logan pops claws only for chains to come out. As Haller continues with saying, you, my friend, are a prisoner because you allow yourself to be. You need to fight, Logan, not for anyone but yourself. You need to see yourself as I see you, lost, not forgotten. And know what I know, that in here, we are not alone. I hear voices, Logan, voices from an unknown source. Though they grow weaker, they are losing their grasp. They whisper of a maker. In a way, I suppose he was. In fact, he was both to me, maker and unmaker. It was he who freed me from my prison, my physical body. But he did not make me whole. That came later. Which right there directly refers to the Maker being the cause of David's death, and like we saw, Beast is responsible for making David whole, albeit with stolen AI from the Eurasian Republic, which I imagine still has some sort of tie back to the Maker. But One goes on to say here, your forgotten friends, they found me, brought me back from the ethereal plane, and now in turn I am helping you in the same way. Ah, the others, the Whispers say, they were truly your makers, and more than that, they were your masters, and you, their tool. As a tool, they used you, and they certainly will never let you go. And that is why you must fight, Logan. Use their own tool against them. Break free from your chains and fight. They wounded you, tortured you, stole your very life from you. But you were not fortunate enough to be greeted with the sweet, soft caress of death's kiss. They took your memories, they took your soul. You were always a killer, and they knew that. They knew, and they exploited it, exploited you. But you are in control. Take it back. Break through. Break free. You are Logan. You know this. Feel it again. Feel it in your bones. They've tried to take those from you too. They've bonded your bones with an indestructible metal, a procedure they stole from a dead scientist from another land. Just another upgrade for their tool, but you are not theirs, you never were. And all of this just takes Logan through this sequence, where he's fighting each one of the leaders of the Eurasian Republic, from Colossus to Magik to Omega Red, as he's being told that they are formidable. But Logan is the crack in their armor, so he's told to see it, know it, use it, to the point where he's mastered them as they've mastered him, and to the point where after taking them down, there's still one more, with Haller saying the one within you always, the one who is neither master or mastered, your greatest enemy, who's basically a version of Logan, though it's not quite him. As Haller says, the one who knows your every move, your every secret. This one looks like you, acts like you, smells like you, even thinks like you. But Logan, you must see, you must know, this one is not you. It will never be you. Do you hear me, Logan? You must fight. And as he defeats this false version of himself, Logan then hears someone say, do you hear me? And they keep calling his name till he finally wakes up. And when he does, he finds himself at the opposition's base, with everyone around just kind of waiting to see whether or not Logan's back to being himself. And practically everyone's here, like Beast, Abigail Brand, Saber-Tooth, and surprisingly, Mikhail Rasputin, the brother of Colossus and Magik, who was believed to have been killed in the incident known as the Mikhail Massacre, who the Eurasian Republic is blaming on Gambit for the most part. So you can just imagine how crazy of a surprise it's gonna be when Colossus and Magik find out that their brother's still alive. And not just that, but the fact that he's working with the opposition. But for all we know, that in itself could be a trick too. But during this time, both him and Abigail Brand cautiously approach Logan, because they're like, okay, we need to know that it's you. And it makes for a very tense moment before Logan's just like, I'm the best there is, before he pops his claws and he finishes the statement, saying, at what I do. And it calms everybody down, because they're pretty much like, okay, he knows the slogan. That's definitely Logan. And after this, sometime later, and still at the opposition base, we find Kitty Pryde, who's been looking for Logan for quite a while, only to find him off by himself on top of this cooling tower. because the others at the opposition thought he had ran away, when really he's just come up here to get some space and think about who he is and what he is, while looking at that Winter Soldier mask. And really, this is that moment that we all knew was coming, because now that Logan has his mind back, we've all had that question in the back of our mind, like how's he gonna handle it when he finds out what he did? And as you would expect, it's tearing him apart, because even with Kitty trying to tell him that that's not who he is, Logan knows that he's a killer, so all they had to do was wind him up and point him where they wanted him to go, which of all places was right back to his own people, which led to the deaths of both Kurt and Raven, among many other opposition members who didn't have any powers. So yeah, in the here and now, Kitty tries to give Logan the pep talk and tell Logan how this wasn't you, it was them. And in the case of those who were lost, Kitty just frames it like, hey, they knew what they signed up for. So coming from Kitty, it's important that Logan knows that his friends died at the hand of the Eurasian Republic, who were their oppressors, Logan's oppressors. And it's important that Logan doesn't forget that. But in his case, it's not just what Logan thinks about himself, because there's also the way that the other members of the opposition look at him. They're afraid of him, and honestly, Logan can't blame him. And aside from that, the adamantium that Directorate X had given him, it's always going to be a part of him, like a constant reminder of what he's done. And it even has Logan thinking that he wishes he'd stayed away from the opposition in the first place. And on top of that, he remembers bits and pieces from the intense moments as the Winter Soldier. And he tells her here, they come and they go like memories of a bad dream. They pull at my heart, kid. They're heavy. I feel them hanging over me. And she tells him what I think is one of the most important things here. Because she says, Logan, Kurt and Raven didn't forget you. We didn't forget you. We brought you back because you're one of us. You're family. Do you remember why you joined the opposition? I do. It's because you saw what was happening to other people, Logan. People like you. And you wanted to help them. This is a war, Logan. Sometimes you win, sometimes you lose. Sometimes you do things you never thought you'd do or could do. But you do them because you must. You fight. And damn it, Logan, I've never known a better fighter in my life. You clawed your way free from death itself, man. That's not nothing. But just remember why you did this. Not the bad stuff. Not what they did. Not what they made you do. You made a choice to give up everything, to come here and fight. Remember why. It's hard sometimes, I know. Sometimes the darkness gets a little too close to winning. But that's why we have each other. We're all each other's reminders. Now come on down from here. Mikhail and Abigail have called a meeting. It's a family affair. And yeah, that means you too. So yeah, not only do I feel like Logan needed this talk, but I feel like he needed to hear these things from Kitty Pryde. And now just after this, we head back over to Dr. Prostovic, who is losing it, because she knows that the leaders find out that she lost the Winter Soldier, it's a wrap for her. Because now all of the tethers are severed and he is completely off the grid. And while her assistant Anna's on the computer trying to help out, and I mean Anna might not be like an assistant, probably one of the other scientists or whatever, but there's a moment here where Dr. Prostovic is like, if the leaders find out that he's gone. So Anna's like, okay, let me check one more, and then mid-sentence, her head just slams right into the table. As Dr. Prostovic hears another voice saying, when the leaders finally find out, only for her to look up and see Omega Red, and he's just like, yeah, the leaders have indeed found out. So for a quick moment, the doctor tries to beg and plead her case, but Arcadie's not trying to hear that. So he snatches her up and drags her out of her office, and for a moment here, I want you to put yourself in Dr. Prostovic's shoes. Because even though she works for Omega Red, Colossus, and Magik, she doesn't know everything about them. And even from what she does know, she's not 100% sure of what things are certain. And you'll see what I mean in a moment. Because as Omega Red's dragging her away, he says, here, Ileana, look what the cat's dragged in. And the doctor can hear Ileana's voice far off saying, thank you, Arcadie. We have an appointment to keep with the good doctor. But we will first make a stop. As Magik opens up one of her stepping discs, and she's like, we're making a stop in limbo. And man, Dr. Prostovic is terrified out of her mind, because even though she's aware of what Magik is capable of to an extent, and she's heard of limbo, Dr. Prostovic never knew that limbo was a real place. So now that Magik has taken her there, with the doctor knowing that she'd messed up already, I could just imagine she's thinking like, no, this is it, I'm done, end of the line. But before we continue this, we jump back over to Kitty and Logan for a moment as they're heading to the opposition meeting, where as they do, Logan sees Saber-Tooth. And as soon as Logan sees him, he's pissed. And the reason why is pretty obvious, because if you guys remember, back in Ultimate Wolverine issue 5, Logan made him promise to kill him if he was taken by the Eurasian Republic, because he didn't want to become one of their puppets, only for that to be exactly what happened. So in the here and now, with Logan getting his head straight, he feels like Victor didn't keep his word. But to be fair, at the time when Logan made him promise, Victor had said something along the lines of like, yeah, it's a deal, but it ain't gonna happen. So an argument could be made that Victor held up his end. But at first here, Kitty doesn't know what's going on, so Victor explains it to her. And then he goes on to tell Logan that he didn't have a chance to do much until he showed up at the bar. And that's when Victor decided that he was gonna try and save him. And he leans in on Logan, he's like, and last I checked, I did just that. And he's basically like, if anything, Logan should be saying thank you. But again, for Logan, it's more so about him knowing how dangerous he is, because he's blacked out before and woken up covered in someone else's blood. So he knew if they got a hold of him, what would happen. But at the same time, with Saber-Tooth waiting on that thank you, this quickly becomes one of those rare moments where both Wolverine and Saber-Tooth got a point. And you can literally look at either one of them and be like, well, he's not wrong. And when things get heated between the two, eventually Kitty's able to de-escalate the situation, just before they all arrive at the opposition meeting, being held by Mikhail Rasputin and Abigail Brand. And right off the top, just to get this out of the way, Mikhail says here, if there are new recruits, let me introduce myself. I am Mikhail Rasputin, and I welcome you to the opposition. Those of you who have been with us will notice Logan has returned. Logan was a prime fighter for the opposition, and I believe he will be again, should we be so lucky. That said, I understand there may be some anxiety, maybe some animosity, fear, though the scars of experimentation remain. The Republic's Winter Soldier program has been overwritten by the One. You have no cause to fear Logan. Not anymore. I have quite an education on the subject myself. I too come from the enemy. I was once their ruthless leader, so I know that trust can be earned. It pains me, yes, that I now fight my beloved siblings in this struggle, but they are lost. They pledge fealty to one alone, the dark secret of our world. But the truth was awakened in me, while my brother and sister tortured their own kind. For nefarious means, I knew that a counterweight must be provided to strike back. I had begun secretly coordinating the opposition's strategy with McCoy and Brand, but I took the next step without fear. Faking my own death, I teleported clear to safety. It was finished. I no longer took orders from a hidden dictator, pulling strings. Instead, I fight for my country, for my people. I fight for the opposition. But too often it feels like we fight against a tidal wave that dooms all progress, which from here leads to Abigail Brand explaining their next move. But do keep in mind, this whole reveal that we're getting with Mikhail Rasputin being alive and now fully working with the opposition, it's a big deal, and that's something we're going to come back to in a moment. But going forward in this meeting, Abigail Brand lets the members of the opposition know that they're going to be switching up their strategy, because for the most part up to this point, the Republic has put them on the defensive end by deploying new weapons that have caused serious casualties and taken out 2 of their bases. And some of this we've seen during Logan's time as the Winter Soldier and how effective he was, but now with the opposition successfully getting Logan back, Brand feels like the opposition has a huge opportunity here to capitalize on what might be one of the Republic's biggest mistakes, since they rely so much on biological living weapons. And this is why, again, to switch up their strategy, Abigail Brand plans for their next move to be offensive instead of just defensive, with it being designed to take advantage of the Republic's miscalculation. In going into the details of this plan, she goes on to say here, a prison on Snake Island in the Black Sea, known by the name of Stabilny, I think it is, which I want to say is Ukrainian for stable. Dr. Alonia Prostovic has her minions there, experimenting on mutants from across the globe, turning them into abominations. This base appears on no maps or databases. We only know it exists because the One picked up fragmentary coordinates when probing Logan's brain. Local intel verified its existence and provided these photos of prisoners arriving at the location. Locals believe the prison to be a benign government facility. But then to add on to what Brand is saying, Beast comes in to let everyone know that the Republic has increased their presence around the prison, so they're going to have to send in a highly skilled team if they're going to do this right. And now, aside from providing this information, Beast already has a list of prime operatives who he suggests should go, starting with Gambit, Sprite, Guardian, and Widow, as well as Beast, who will be joining himself. But as he's going down the list and using everyone's code names, as he goes down the list, he lets Logan know that he can join them as well. And this just has Logan like, what? I don't get one of them fancy nicknames. So Beast tells him he just hasn't had the chance to select one. So he asks Logan if he has any ideas. Like, for example, Mikhail goes by Archangel, and that's where Guardian steps in like, I got it. He can be Rosomaka, the hair, the claws, which then has Logan like, what's that supposed to mean? And that's where Widow tells him that it's Russian for Wolverine. And from there, they're basically like, oh, okay, we're going with it. And from there, Mikhail's like, it is done. What came before was but a prelude, a mere taste of what we mutants and humans together can unleash. No more games. What comes next is victory. But after this, going back to Limbo with Dr. Prostovic, with her asking where am I, and Magik telling her like, oh, come on now, have you not heard of Limbo? It's here where Magik goes on to say like, yes, it is very real, which is why it is best for you not to make mistakes or lose Republic property, because there are hungry things here, and I am too eager to throw them your bones. And this whole time, Dr. Prostovic is just begging Magik to show mercy, with demons surrounding her and pulling her in every direction. But Magik goes on to say here, "This is my domain, Dr. Prostovic, my true kingdom. Its demons are my servants, and for your failure, do not think they are not prepared to rip you limb from limb. Scream, doctor, feel the pain in your joints, the ache in your muscles, feel their fingers tear through your clothes, breaking your skin." But what ends up happening here is this leads to Dr. Prostovic telling Magik that she has a way to destroy them all, referring to the opposition, which from here takes us back to the Eurasian Republic, who is supposed to have this meeting, but Magik and Omega Red are late. And this one guy looks at his watch like, "I thought this inquiry was today," only for Colossus to give him this look like, "Hey, you gonna wait as long as it takes." But we already know why Magik and Omega Red are running late, and they find out moments after when the stepping disc opens up and Dr. Prostovic comes flying through, looking like she been to hell and back. And right behind her, when Magik and Omega Red come stepping through, Magik just snatches the doctor by her hair, and Magik tells Colossus that the doctor has a couple things she wants to share, referring to this secret plan, because Magik wants the doctor to share this news with everyone. So Dr. Prostovic says here, "I've discovered a possibility, a way to harness the power at the heart of Cerebellum. I need time to test, but to use it would mean the utter destruction of the opposition, once and for all." And Colossus is just like, "Dr. Prostovic, you have my attention." And now we know inside the cerebellum, there's the brain of Charles Xavier as well as the Phoenix specimen, which likely means that this is going to take us down a path of Dr. Prostovic using the Phoenix to destroy the opposition, or at the least making an attempt to control the Phoenix. But aside from that, with there being elements like Mikhail Rasputin, who left the Eurasian Republic to go with the opposition, as did Widow at one point, as well as the One, where in his case, at no point was David with the Eurasian Republic. But because Beast used stolen AI from the Republic to make David whole, I'm putting them on this list too. But all of these people, just to name a few, they're possible double agents who have gained the trust of the opposition and can either be part of this threat or something else entirely. Because again, I wouldn't be surprised if Charles or Jean were used against the opposition, only for that to turn into an opportunity for Jean or both Jean and Charles to be free. Though I'm not really sure if there's enough left of Charles for much of anything at this point. But after hearing about Dr. Prostovic's plan, next we see what looks like a conversation being intercepted between Gary and Danny, where Gary's like he was just messing around and trying to look up Chernobyl on maps. But when he did, he found nothing, almost like it was removed so no one would go there because it's still radioactive. So Gary tried again after using an old site like GeoCities. Man, that's a throwback. But that old site gave him the coordinates for a power plant, so he put that into maps, which then took him to the Eurasian Republic, to the spot where Chernobyl should be. So in this message, his friend Danny's like, "Okay, well, did they scrub the site?" And Gary's like, that's what he thought too. But when he went to Street View, there was nothing there either. So Danny's like, "Okay, you mean like scrubbed footage?" And Gary says, "No, not scrubbed footage, it's not there." So Danny asks Gary to send him the coordinates, and Gary does. And even Danny's a little nervous, like, "Man, you're gonna get me flagged by the Eurasian Republic." But they both end up checking it out, in addition to Danny comparing it to the regular search results for Chernobyl. And eventually the both of them are like, "Okay, this is weird." Only for this to end with Danny asking Gary what the flark is going on over there, and Gary responding, with Gary being the one who started this conversation, with Gary responding saying, "Dude, I don't know, but it must be big." And so now, as far as locations that we've seen in the Eurasian Republic that look like Chernobyl and are also coincidentally scrubbed from the map, this totally matches the location of the opposition's base. So now this begs the question of who's intercepting this information, and will it be used to catch the opposition off guard? So yeah, if you enjoyed this video, be sure to drop a like and let me know in the comments what you think the Republic leaders, or even just Dr. Prostovic, might have planned for the opposition. Because right now the opposition think they're a step ahead, and it would be crazy to find out that they're actually not. And so now real quick, I want to give a special shout out to all the patrons. Thank you guys for all of your support. And for anyone who's new here, who wants more information on how to support the channel, I got a link below where you can go to patreon.com/dopespill. But that'll do it for this one, guys. Let me know your thoughts down in the comments below, and we'll do it again on the next one. Alright, later.